Hello, grade 8. This is a quick revision for the lessons of term 1. Lesson 1, we talked about the cellular levels of organization. We said that the skin is considered the largest organ in my body. And when we talked about the levels of organization, we said that the smallest level is the cell. And then I have tissues, organs, and organ system. So, what's the meaning of each one? Cell is the basic unit of life, is the smallest unit capable of reproduction, is the smallest building unit of life. So the smallest thing is the cell. If I have groups of cells together, they will give me a tissue. So the smallest building unit of life is a cell. Cells are made up of nucleic acids such as DNA and RNA. It's filled with fluids like the cytoplasm, and it have a membrane made up of lipids. We have two types of cells, prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic, as I told you in class, prokaryotic starts with letter P, so it's found in the bacteria that starts with letter B, and these cells have no nucleus. They are single-celled organisms with no nucleus, without a nucleus. Eukaryotic cells are found in plants, animals, protists, fungi, and they contain nucleus inside them. In humans, most cells combine to form tissues. So a group of cells performing the same function, this is a tissue. Example for a cell, a red blood cell. So here I have the prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. I don't need you to know the organelles inside the cell. Tissues are a group of similar cells doing the same function. They're of the same origin and carry out a specific function. We have four types of tissues. Connective tissues, such as the bone tissue, they're made up of fibrous cells and give shape and structure to the organ. Muscle tissues, they allow animals or humans or their main function is movement. Epithelial tissues, they make up the outer layers of organs. They are for protection, like our skin, for example, or the outer layer of the stomach. Nervous tissue, it's made up of specialized cells that transmit information throughout electrochemical impulse. This is in the nervous system. We said that the nervous system produces electric messages that are responsible for all the body reflexes. They control my whole body. So nervous tissue is made up of specialized cells that transmit information through electrochemical impulses, such as the tissue of the nerves, spinal cord, and brain. So we have four types of tissues. What's the meaning of the word tissue? Group of cells of the same origin carrying out the same function. They are all doing the same function. How many types I have? I have four types. Connective, like in the bones, muscle tissues for the movement, epithelial tissue like my skin for protection, and nervous tissue. So groups of tissue will give me an organ. An organ is a structure made up of different tissues. Different tissues, they combine together to give me an organ that will perform one specific function. So here I have many organs together. If I have many organs together, this is an organ system. So an organ system is a collection of organs that work together to perform a similar function. So they will perform a same function, similar function. So here, the smallest building unit is the cell. Then cells together will give me a tissue. Different tissues will give me an organ. Organs together will give me a system, and many systems together will give me an organism. So for example, I have red blood cell. The tissue here is a blood vessel. The organ is the heart, and the system is the circulatory system. So this is an example of the levels of organization. In lesson 2, we talked about the endocrine system. And we started the lesson by talking about the two systems that are controlling my body. So my body is controlled by two main systems, which are the nervous system and the endocrine system. So what are the two systems that are controlling my body? The nervous system and the endocrine system. If I'm comparing between them, I can find here that the speed of action of the nervous system is very rapid, but the endocrine system can be slow. The messages in the nervous system are electric impulses, while the messages in the endocrine system are chemical messengers, which are the hormones that will travel in the bloodstream. So this is the type of message, the nature of messages. The duration of the response, nervous system will respond very quickly within seconds, while the endocrine system, it takes a longer period of time. It may take years before completed. The area of response, often in the nervous system, it's often confined to one area, while in the endocrine system, it can be noticed in many organs. So it's widespread. It will spread throughout different parts of my body. Example for the nervous system, the reflexes such as blinking your eyes. So if I have a pen and I'm about to put the pen in your eyes, you will close your eyes. This is controlled by the nervous system. This is a reflex. What about example in the endocrine system? Growth, for example. Growth is controlled by the growth hormone, which is released from the pituitary gland. So we have here the comparison between the nervous system and endocrine system, which are the two systems that control my body. What's the difference between endocrine and exocrine? Endocrine glands, they are glands that will produce the hormones directly in my bloodstream. While the exocrine, it comes from the word exit, they will not go into my blood. But here, substances are released into ductal system, into tubes inside my body. For example, the sweat glands, they don't produce the sweat in my blood. No, the sweat is secreted through ducts and then outside my body. So this is a comparison between the exocrine glands and endocrine glands. So we have two types of glands in my body. Glands that will secrete the hormones or the substances directly in my blood. This is the endocrine glands. They are in the blood, endocrine glands, while other glands will produce it inside ducts to exit the body. This is exocrine glands. So what's the endocrine system? Endocrine system, it's an organ system, and we have just said that the system is a group of organs. The organs here are called glands. So endocrine system is a collection of glands, group of glands and cells that will secrete hormones in my bloodstream. So endocrine system is a group of glands that will secrete hormones, which are chemical messengers, directly in my bloodstream. Gland is an organ that produces chemicals such as hormones in my bloodstream. So a gland, it's an organ that will produce hormones. What are hormones? Hormones are chemical messengers produced by the glands into my bloodstream. So what are some major glands inside my body? First, I have the pituitary gland. It's called the master gland. It's found inside my brain. It's the pea-sized gland, okay? And it's responsible for controlling all the other glands in my body. So it's the master gland responsible for controlling all the other glands. That's why I call it the master gland, okay? And it produces 9 different hormones. I need you just to know one, which is the growth hormone that controls the growth of an organism. So growth hormone is responsible for the growth of my body. We also have the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus starts with letter H, so it's responsible for the homeostasis. What's the homeostasis? Homeostasis is the stable state of my body. So my temperature doesn't vary. My heart rate doesn't vary. My blood pressure doesn't vary. It's always in a stable state. This is homeostasis. Who's responsible for the homeostasis? The hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus is responsible for my body stable state, which is called homeostasis. So we took the hypothalamus, pituitary glands, which is the master gland. Both of them are found in the brain. We have the thyroid gland. Where is it located? It's located in the neck. So the thyroid gland is located in the neck and it releases a hormone which is called thyroxine. So thyroid releases thyroxine. Okay, thyroid releases thyroxine. What is the thyroxine responsible for? It's responsible for regulating the metabolism of the body. What's the meaning of the word metabolism? Metabolism is burning calories. So when I eat food, I need to burn it to get energy. Who's responsible for this? The thyroxine. Who's responsible for releasing the thyroxine? The thyroid gland. So I have the thyroid thyroid gland that will release thyroxine, which is responsible for my body metabolism. Adrenal glands, I call them the kidney hats. So from their name, kidney hats, so they are located above the kidney. Adrenal glands are responsible for producing adrenaline from its name. Adrenal glands, it will release adrenaline. Thyroid gland, it will release thyroxine. What's the function of adrenaline? Adrenaline is to enable the body to deal with stress, danger, fighting. I call it the fight or flight response. So when you're about to fight, the adrenal glands will release high amount of adrenaline in your body. We have also the pancreas. Pancreas is located near the stomach and it's responsible for producing insulin and glucagon. Insulin and glucagon are two hormones that control the blood sugar level and they're opposite to each other. So when I'm eating, I have food inside my body, so the blood sugar level will increase, so the pancreas will release the insulin to ask my cells to take this sugar from my blood, so it will decrease the blood sugar level. Glucagon is the opposite when you are fasting in Ramadan, for example, or you haven't eaten for a long period of time. So glucagon will be released in your blood by the pancreas so it can raise the blood sugar level. So they are opposite to each other. If you have a lot of sugar in your blood, insulin will be released. If you have low blood sugar level, there is no sugar in your blood, glucagon will be released. We have the ovaries and tests. Ovaries are responsible for the transitions during the puberty in the females. So ovaries are only found in the females, while tests are found in the males. Ovaries are responsible for producing progesterone and estrogen that are responsible for the menstrual cycle of the females, while tests produce testosterone, which is responsible for the puberty in the males. As we have just said, glucagon increases the blood glucose level. If your blood sugar is low, you didn't have breakfast, you have been fasting for a whole day, so the blood sugar is low. Pancreas will release the glucagon. Why? To increase the blood sugar level so it can be normal. What would happen if you have too much glucagon? I will have a large or a high blood sugar level. So glucagon is responsible for raising the blood sugar level. Insulin is responsible for decreasing the blood glucose level or the blood sugar level. So if the blood sugar is so high, pancreas releases insulin that decrease the blood sugar to its normal level. So what about diabetes? We have two types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. Type 2 is more common than type 1. It's found in about 90% of the people, while type 1 is found in about 10%. In type 1 diabetes, the pancreas is not working well. This is an autoimmune disease in which the pancreas will not produce insulin. So people with type 1 diabetes, they must take external injections of insulin. While people with type 2 diabetes, they have a problem in the receptor. So although the pancreas is functioning well and it's producing a sufficient amount of insulin, the receptors cannot feel the insulin in the blood. So people with type 2 diabetes, they don't need to take external injections of insulin. They just need to take medicines that would make these receptors to be more sensitive, and I call them insulin sensitizers. So in type 1, your body is no longer able to produce the insulin, while in type 2, your body still produces insulin, but it doesn't make enough of it or it doesn't use it efficiently. Type 1 occurs during childhood, while type 2 is common in adults over 45 years. The risk factors in type 1 is the family history, in type 2 overweight and family history as well. I can prevent type 2 by the healthy lifestyle, but I can never prevent type 1. This is a very important point. I can treat type 1 by insulin injections, but in type 2, I don't need insulin injections. I will only need insulin injections in type 2 when it turns into type 1. So the pancreas in type 2, it's releasing more insulin because the cells cannot feel the insulin. So it will keep on releasing insulin till it's no longer able to produce this insulin. So when type 2 diabetes turns into type 1 diabetes, those patients will need to take external insulin injections. But mainly type 2 patients, they don't need to take external insulin injections, while type 1, they need to take external insulin injections. The third lesson is the musculoskeletal system. From its name, musculoskeletal system. So this system contains both the muscles and the bones, the muscular system and the skeletal system. Muscular system is the system of the muscles. Skeletal system is the system of the bones. So the muscular system, the muscles, they are responsible for the movement of my body, and the muscles of my body are attached to the frames that will give my body the structure, which is the skeletal system. So the function of the muscular system is to facilitate movement, while the function of the skeletal system is to give my body shape and structure. Bones also have another functions, which are number one, protecting the internal organs. So, for example, the ribs. The ribs protect my heart, my lungs. So, the function of the ribs is to protect the internal organs, and it also gives my body shape and structure. Also, the skull, it protects my brain. So, if I fell on my head, my brain will not be damaged. So, it protects the brain. So, the function of the skeletal system is to protect the internal organs, the vital internal organs, to give my body shape and structure, and also to produce blood cells. Inside my spine, the vertebral column in my back, I have the bone marrow, the spinal cord, which is considered the factory of the blood cells. It's responsible for producing the blood cells of my body. So the skeletal system has three functions. Number one, it provides my body with shape and support. Number two, it's responsible for protecting the internal vital organs. And number three, it's responsible for producing the blood cells. What about the muscular system? It facilitates movement. So, what are the types of muscles in my body? I have three types of muscles: smooth muscles, cardiac muscles, and skeletal muscles. Smooth muscles are responsible for making up the internal organs. For example, like my lungs, like my stomach, they are made up of smooth muscles. Cardiac muscles, they are only found in my heart, only in the heart. Skeletal muscles, I call them skeletal muscles because it's related to the skeletal system, which are the bones. So, skeletal muscles are the muscles that are attached to my bones, like the muscles in my arm, in my thigh, in my leg. These are skeletal muscles. So, how many types do I have? I have three types of muscles: smooth in my internal organs, cardiac in my heart, skeletal that are attached to my bones. Can I control all of them? No, I can control only the skeletal muscles, which are called voluntary muscles. So muscles that I can control, I call them the voluntary muscles. Muscles that I can't control are called involuntary muscles. So the word in, it means not or involuntary, in. Involuntary muscles are muscles that I can't control. What are some major skeletal muscles? I have the deltoid muscles. They are in the shoulders. I have the pectoral muscles. They are in the upper chest, and I can call them pecs, P-E-C-T-S, pecs, okay? I have the abdominis muscles, the rectus abdominis muscles, the abs. They are found under the rib cage. I have the biceps. They are found in my arms, okay? And below the biceps, I have the triceps. I have the quadriceps in the thigh, in the front of your thighs. I have the gluteus maximus. These are the muscles that you're sitting on right now. Then we have the bones. Bones are provided to support your body, to give your body shape, to give your body a frame. And they also protect the internal organs, and they're responsible for producing the blood cells. What's the meaning of the word joint? It's like your knee or your elbow. So you have two bones, okay, meeting together. They will join together at a joint. So I have the elbow joint and I have the knee joint. This is a place where two bones meet together. This is a joint. What's the skeleton? Skeleton is made up of 206 bones. So all the bones of my body, they are together, they form the skeleton. So the skeleton is made up of 206 bones. This is the skull. This is the spine. It contains the cervical vertebra, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and coccyx. These are the parts of the spine, which I call it the vertebral column. I have here in the chest the ribs. These are the ribs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the ribs. And in the middle, I have the sternum. So I call this the ribs. I call this the sternum. My arm is made up of many bones. This is the clavicle. The shoulder bone is called the scapula. So if I'm asking you about the shoulder bone, this is the scapula. This is the humerus. Here, this is the joint. Because I have here a bone, here's another bone. So this is a place where two bones meet. So this is a joint. This is also another joint. Okay? So this is the humerus. This is the ulna, radius, carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges. This is the hip bones. This is the femur, fibula and tibia, tarsals, metatarsals, phalanges. What's a cartilage? A cartilage is something which is stiff. It's stiff, but it's still flexible. So it's not as hard as a bone, but it's not so soft. It's found between the bones in the joints to reduce the friction between the bones. So in my knee, I have two bones, they're moving together so they can break each other. To reduce this friction, I have something that it's like the jelly, okay? I call it a cartilage. Cartilages also form the ear, the nose, and the bronchial tubes. What's a tendon? A tendon is a strong cord that will attach the muscle to a bone. So this blue thing, this is a tendon. It attaches the muscle to a bone. So muscles and bones are connected together by tendons. Muscles and bones are connected together by tendons. For example, behind your ankle, there is the Achilles tendon. What are ligaments? Ligaments connect bones together. So if I have a bone and another bone, they are connected together with a ligament, while muscle and a bone are connected together with a tendon. What are the main processes in the musculoskeletal system? I have nerves. These nerves will stimulate the muscles of my body to move. So if I want to move a muscle, what will happen? One muscle will contract and the other one will relax, so I can move the bone, I can move my body. This is locomotion and movement. So the processes involved in the musculoskeletal system are relaxation and contraction of the muscles, which are controlled by nerves. They are controlled by nerves, by my nervous system, and they're responsible for the locomotion and movement of my body. What are the health issues involving the musculoskeletal system? First, I have rickets. This is caused by the lack of vitamin D, calcium, or phosphate, which results in soft, weak bones. A typical symptom in children who have rickets is the bowing of the bones of the leg. As you can see here, this man, he has bowing in his legs. Why? Because he had an insufficiency in vitamin D or calcium or phosphate while he was a baby, so they didn't treat him well. So his legs remained bowed, okay? So this is rickets. So rickets is caused by a lack of vitamin D, calcium, or phosphate. If you look here at this picture, I have one leg red, hot, and swollen compared to the other one. This is arthritis. Arthritis, anything that ends with itis, this is inflammation. So here the leg is inflamed. So this is where the joints in the body become inflamed, painful, and swollen. The cartilage that's found between the bones breaks down, so the bones will rub against each other, they will break each other, they will rub, and here this is so painful. This is arthritis. So I have inflammation in the joints. Why? Because the cartilage between them is no longer existing, so the bones will rub together, the joints will be inflamed, and this is so painful, and I can see like this picture here, the leg will be swollen, inflamed, red and hot. This is arthritis, inflammation in the joints. So here, this is osteoporosis. What's osteoporosis? Osteoporosis occurs when the bone tissue become brittle, thin and spongy. So the calcium inside the bones, it will dissolve by time, so the bones will be weak, spongy, and it's common in older people, teenagers, young adults may also develop it. So all stages may suffer from osteoporosis. Lesson 4, we have the digestive system. What is the digestive system? Digestive system is the system responsible for breaking down, for digesting the food into nutrients that the cells can take, and they can get energy from these nutrients. So in order to function, the cells in our body need proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients that can be found in the food we eat. Before our organs and cells can absorb the nutrients and energy, it first has to pass through the digestive system. What's the purpose of the digestive system? It's responsible for breaking down. This is the function of the digestive system. It's responsible for breaking down the food that we eat into smaller particles that can be absorbed into the bloodstream, and then it will pass through the cells for energy, growth, and nourishment. What are the four main processes in the digestive system? First, I will eat the food. I will take in the food, which is ingestion. So I'm taking in the food. This is ingestion. This happens when you take the food or fluid into your body through your mouth by drinking or eating. So this is ingestion. What happens next? The food will go to your stomach to be digested. So the second step is digestion. This is the process of breaking the large food pieces into nutrients, into small nutrients, so it can be absorbed through the cell membrane. Third step is absorption. So first I will take in the food. This is ingestion. It will be broken down into smaller particles. This is digestion. And then absorption, I will take it into my bloodstream so the blood can carry it to the cells of my body, and then I will have the waste products. I need to get it outside my body. This is egestion. So I have ingestion and egestion. They're opposite to each other. So the unwanted particles, the waste products, the solid waste are removed from the digestive system through egestion. What are the components of the digestive system? What are the organs in the digestive system? I have the mouth, esophagus, liver, stomach, large intestine, small intestine, rectum, and anus. I need you to know the name of each one, the function of each one, and you should know the labeling of each system that we have taken through this term. So, the mouth and the esophagus. Here, inside the mouth, I will take the food in the mouth. And once the food enters my mouth, the salivary gland, this white thing that looks like a cotton, is the salivary gland. It will produce the saliva. It will produce the saliva into my mouth. In the saliva, I have enzymes, which I call amylase, that's responsible for breaking down the carbohydrates partially. So food will pass inside my mouth. Saliva will be secreted. The food will be mixed with the saliva. I will cut the food into smaller parts so it's easier for me to swallow this food, okay? And the saliva is responsible for digesting the carbohydrates partially. Then the food will move into a long tube. This is called the esophagus. Why will the food move in the food pipe, in the tube of the food, and not in the tube of the air, which is the trachea? Because I have something called epiglottis. Epiglottis is responsible for closing and opening the food pipe and the windpipe. So when you're eating, it will close the trachea, which is the windpipe, and it will open for you the esophagus so the food can pass through it. After that, the food will reach the stomach. Inside the stomach, I have acids secreted to digest the food, to break down the food into nutrients. And this acid is also responsible for killing the bacteria. However, The main function of the acid is to digest the food, to break down the food into smaller particles. Then the food will pass to the small intestine first. First, it will pass through the small intestine. So the nutrients, not the food, the nutrients will be absorbed to the bloodstream so it can pass by the cells of the body. Then the food will move to the large intestine, so the water will be absorbed, and then I will have waste products. They will be stored in the rectum, and then it will be released through the anus. So, digestion starts in the mouth where food is chewed and mixed with saliva. Saliva not only moistens the food before we swallow it, it also contains enzymes that break down carbohydrates like starches and sugars before food even leaves our mouth, and then the food will travel down a long tube, which is the esophagus. After that, the food will reach my stomach. Inside my stomach, enzymes and acids are secreted, and the stomach break down the food by these acids and enzymes to a more liquid state. It will then pass to the small intestine. It's responsible for the absorption. The main function of the small intestine is the absorption. Absorption of food particles take place in the small intestine. And in the small intestine, I have tiny finger-like projections called villi that act as vehicles to transport the nutrients into the blood that then circulate throughout your body. So I have here finger-like projections that will carry the nutrients from inside the small intestine to the bloodstream. I call them villi. Then the food will reach the large intestine or the colon. The water here is removed, so this is the absorption of water. It will occur in the large intestine. The waste products will move to the rectum. It will be stored, the feces, the waste product, the solid waste will be stored in the rectum, and then it will be released through the anus. This is called egestion. We have also the liver and the gallbladder. Liver is responsible for producing and secreting the bile, while the gallbladder is responsible for storing the bile. So the liver, it will produce the bile. Then it will store it inside the gallbladder. And then the liver will take it back from the gallbladder to release it. So it can help in digesting the fats. So the bile is responsible for breaking down the fats, for digesting the fats. Who's responsible for producing the bile? The liver. Who will secrete the bile? The liver. Who's responsible for storing the bile? The gallbladder. The next system is the excretory system. The excretory system is responsible for removing all the waste products from my body. We have the urea. The urea is formed from the digestion of the protein. So when I break down the protein, I have urea. Urea is toxic for my body. I should get rid of the urea through the urinary system. How? I have the two kidneys. Kidneys are responsible for filtering my blood from the urea. So kidneys, they filter all the blood in your body to remove the urea. You have two kidneys, they are bean shaped, and the unit function of the kidney is called the nephron. So kidneys are made up of millions of nephrons. They are the working cells inside the kidneys are called nephrons. So nephrons are responsible for filtering my blood from the urea. Then it will take some excess water, it will mix it with the urea, and we will have the urine. The urine will then pass through tubes, which I call them ureters. So we have two ureters that connect the kidney with the bladder. They will carry the urine from the kidney to the bladder. What's the bladder? Bladder is responsible for storing the urine. So it's a balloon-like organ, a very big sac that will collect the urine inside it. When it's time for urination, the urine will pass through another tube, which is the urethra, which connect the bladder to the outside of the body, and this is urine excretion. So take care, there's a difference between urethra and ureters. Ureters are responsible for connecting the kidney to the bladder. Urethra is the tube that connects between the bladder and the outside of the body through which the urine is excreted. What are the main processes in the excretory system? Filtration, which is cleaning the blood from all the unwanted minerals, from the urea, from the excess water. This is filtration. Absorption, when you have some substances that you don't need to lose it in the urine, so you will take it back again to the blood. This is absorption. Diffusion, when the substances are transported into and out the cells. So in and out, this is diffusion. They are going in the nephrons, out the nephrons. They are moving through a door. This is diffusion. The last process is the excretion. When the bladder is full of urine, it will be excreted through the urethra. This is excretion. What are the health issues involving the excretory system? We have kidney failure. In the kidney failure, the kidneys are no longer able to work. They cannot filter. The main function of the kidneys is not to produce the urine. The main function is to filter my blood from the toxic materials, from the urea. I need to remove this urea. So when the kidney is unable to do this, so it lost its ability to filter the blood from all the toxic materials, from the metabolic waste, whatever. So this is kidney failure. People who suffer from kidney failure, they undergo regular kidney dialysis. What's kidney dialysis? Dialysis involves using an external machine that filters the blood for the patient to remove the waste products. So I will use an external machine to filter my blood because my kidneys are no longer working. So the main function of the kidney is to filter my blood from the urea. This is the main function of the kidney. What's kidney failure? Kidney failure is when the kidney loses its ability to properly filter and remove the waste from my blood. What's the treatment of kidney failure? People who suffer from kidney failure, they must undergo dialysis. We also have bladder infection. Bladder infection is one of the most common infections in women. It's in women more than men. Why? Because the urethra of the woman is shorter than the urethra of men. So bacteria can easily go through the urethra of women than the urethra of men. So bladder infection is more common in women than in men. It's rare in men. This is because of bacterial infection. Bacteria will go into the bladder and causes an infection which causes swelling and pain when urinating. Kidney stones. Kidney stones form when fluid intake is too low. So if you have 2 cups of water, one is full of water and the other one contains like a very small amount of water, and you added a spoon of salt in both cups, you will find the salt in the cup which is full of water is totally dissolved, while the other cup, the salt will form crystals on the bottom of the cup. This is the same. If I'm not drinking enough water, I have low fluid intake, the urea will be too concentrated in the urine. So while it's in the kidney, it can form stones. People who suffer from kidney stones, they can feel severe pain during the urination, and it can also cause bleeding. So when they go to urinate, the stones will damage the wall of the bladder, the wall of the ureter, the wall of the kidney, and they will suffer from severe pain and bleeding. So these are kidney stones. The last system in this term is the respiratory system. This system is responsible for supplying my cells, the body cells, with oxygen and removing the carbon dioxide. What are the components of the respiratory system? I have many organs. Okay, I have the nose, I have the mouth, I have the trachea, bronchi, I have the bronchioles, alveoli, lungs, and diaphragm. So mouth and nose, trachea, bronchus, which is the plural of bronchi, lungs, diaphragm. First, the air will enter my respiratory system through the nose or the mouth. Inside my nose, I have many blood vessels that are warm enough so it can warm this air and humidify it. And I also have tiny hairs called cilia that will filter the dust and any particles that is in this air. So in my nose, I have blood vessels that will make this air warmer, and also I have cilia, which is responsible for trapping any dust particles in this air. We also have the epiglottis. What's the function of the epiglottis? Epiglottis is responsible for closing the food pipe, which is the esophagus, while breathing from my mouth. And it's responsible for closing the windpipe, which is the trachea, while eating. So the air first will enter through my nose or mouth. Then it will go into a big tube. This is called the trachea. This one in the circle. This is the trachea. I can call it a windpipe or a trachea. Trachea is a tube that enters the chest and allows the air to flow from the mouth into the bronchi. The trachea is always open because it's made up of rings of cartilage. And it also contains cilia that will work to remove any dust particles and germs from the air during inhalation. Then the trachea will split into two tubes. I call them the bronchus. One of them is called bronchi. Both of them are called bronchus. And these tubes will branch into many other tubes. I call them bronchioles. At the end of each bronchiole, I have grape-like structures. I call them alveoli. They are air sacs called alveoli. And I have the lungs. Inside the lungs, I have tiny air bags, which are the alveoli. They are surrounded by blood capillaries in which the gaseous exchange will occur. So this is the trachea. This is the bronchi. These are the bronchioles. They are small, so I call them bronchioles. It's like bronchi, but I have oles in the end. So this is the bronchioles. These are the bronchioles. Many branches. This is the bronchiole. At the end of each bronchiole, I have a grape-like structure, air sacs. I call them alveoli. What's the function of the alveoli? Now the air is found in the alveoli. I have oxygen inside the alveoli. I want to take this oxygen into my bloodstream so it can go to my body cells, and I want to give it the carbon dioxide that I don't need anymore. So the alveoli is surrounded by blood capillaries. I have here blood rich in carbon dioxide, which I don't need anymore. I want to get rid of this carbon dioxide. And here I have oxygen. What happens now is the gaseous exchange. So the carbon dioxide will go here and the oxygen will go here. So they will exchange. This is gaseous exchange. So the oxygen can go to the blood. So it will go to all the cells of my body, and the carbon dioxide will go into the lung, and then it will be released outside by the exhalation. We have the diaphragm. Diaphragm is a muscle that's found below the lungs. It's a dome-shaped muscle. While you're inhaling, you need your lungs to be very big so you can take a large amount of air. So while you're inhaling, you need the lungs to be big enough so the diaphragm muscle will contract while inhaling. Contract. While you're exhaling, you need to push all the air outside your lungs so the diaphragm will expand, it will relax, it will be big. While you are exhaling, the diaphragm will relax. So it's big enough so it can push all the air outside your lungs. So it contracts while inhaling and relaxes while exhaling. What are the main processes in the respiratory system? We have breathing and gases exchange. Breathing includes both the inhalation and exhalation. Gases exchange occurs in the alveoli. What are the health issues involving the respiratory system? We have asthma. It's because of allergies that will cause inflammation in the airways. We have lung cancer because of the smoking or the air pollution. We have bronchitis. Itis is inflammation. So this is inflammation in the bronchi because of the bacterial infection. We have pneumonia. Pneumonia is an infection in the lung that will cause that the alveoli, which these are the alveoli we took here. We said that alveoli are air sacs. They contain air. In the pneumonia, the alveoli are filled with fluids. So this is pneumonia. Alveoli containing fluids, this is pneumonia. Inflammation in the bronchi, this is bronchitis. Smoking or severe air pollution, this is lung cancer. Allergy, this is asthma. The last one is tuberculosis. This is a very highly infectious deadly disease caused by a bacteria called Mycobacterium tuberculosis. This bacteria will live inside the cells of the lung and it will cause severe infection. This is tuberculosis caused by Mycobacterium. So here, this is an asthmatic bronchiole. It's inflamed. It's narrowed. Here, this is a normal one. This is an asthmatic bronchiole. This is, of course, lung cancer because of smoking or air pollution. This is bronchitis. This is pneumonia. I have alveoli filled with fluids. And this is the x-ray of a person suffering from pneumonia. Here, it's black because it contains air. The x-ray here, it's black, it contains air. While here, these are white patches. This is white patches because of the fluids inside the alveoli. And we have tuberculosis that's caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis bacteria. This is the end of the lesson. Please study well grade 8 and good luck. I hope that this quick revision is useful. Please study from all the resources that you have, from the labeling sheets uploaded in Google Classroom, from the homework assignments, from the classwork assignments that we took in class, from the study guides, from the review pack, from the slides. If I skipped something in the slide, please read it, okay? I just revised for you quickly. And good luck, grade 8.